If you follow my channel, hopefully you've seen a couple of reviews I did recently on these two multi-tools from Victorinox. As I did those reviews, I picked out a few sort of differences between the two. They're very similar in principle, but there were a couple of differences between the Victorinox SwissTool X, I think it is, what I'd call the sort of the classic style, and the Spirit, which is slightly more ergonomic, modern in its sort of presentation. So putting aside the ratchet set and extras which come with this particular model of the Spirit, they are very, very similar. They're not dissimilar price points. I don't think you'd necessarily pick one over the other because of price alone. I think one of the main things is obviously the size. So the Spirit is notably smaller in length, slightly smaller in width, and pretty much the same in thickness. So slightly lighter as well. The ergos are slightly nicer on the Spirit, I think, personally. So when you open it up and put it into the plier mode, you've got nice smooth edges, and it sort of follows the contours of the hand a bit more closely like a more traditional plier would, i.e. a non-multi-tool one. The regular SwissTool, yeah, it's got nice rounded edges, but it's a little bit straight in its presentation. So I think the Spirit is good for the ergos there. Slightly sort of more pocket friendly, slightly smaller, slightly lighter. Now looking at the tools, there's a couple of key differences in the tools as well. I think probably the most marked difference is the plier head. So both got the same functionality, so needle nose pliers, grippers, wire cutters. But actually in use, there's a couple of differences. So the needle nose on the SwissTool, the Spirit, is much more fine, which can be actually really important if you're trying to get in and sort of manipulate something. So that's quite a consideration. However, so it's got a plus point for the Spirit on that one. However, the cutting tool element of it, the regular SwissTool will happily cut a 3 cable electric wire. This one hasn't quite got the opening or the length of cutters to achieve that. So if you're going to do a lot of electric work, or maybe you pretty much pre-plan your work and bring the right tool, but if you're going to do electric work with your SwissTool and you want to be efficient, you might be choosing the slightly bigger unit here. Okay, well, let's have a look at the tools which are contained within the handles now. Okay, so we've got the tools out here. At first glance you probably can't tell that they're actually the same sort of range of tools, slightly different stacking. So this one's got the regular SwissTool's got the awl on the right hand side as I look at it. This one's got the awl over here, but it is actually the same stack of tools. Now there's 3 key differences in the tools here. I'm not going to necessarily say which one's best, but they're certainly different. We'll start off with the scissors. So on the regular SwissTool, you have a traditional Victorinox style spring, perfectly adequate. On the Spirit, you have got, let's tidy these guys out of the way so you can see what's going on. You've got a cam arrangement which gives a slightly tighter feel, maybe a little bit more robust in the long term. And also, what I do like about a cam is it contains the cutting mouse, so you can't, it's always going to be there when you need it. Whereas on a, let's get these bits out of the way, whereas on the traditional one you can open your scissors, so it's not necessarily going to be there when you need it. Okay, so that's difference. Let's pop that away. Now the next difference is the blade, the primary blade, and this is probably quite marked. So pretty different there, isn't it? Now I do think this is a SwissTool XC. I think the the Spirit XC. I think the Spirit X actually has the conventional leaf-shaped Victorinox blade. But looking at these two examples, two key differences. One, it doesn't come to a point, so it doesn't have that normal drop point style. And secondly, it has a serration on what's probably the front 2/3 of the blade, which in itself is quite unusual, because normally if you're going to have a part serrated blade, it will typically keep the front tip a traditional straight blade with the serrations coming on down here, so you can use your tip for detailed cutting work, and then when you want to cut through rope or cloth or material or something where you'd really want to use the serrations, you're using a bit more pressure, a bit more close to the body, and that's normally how it's presented. So interesting, nice to have a serrated blade. No huge issues with losing the pointy tip, but I'm not sure if I'd consider that a plus point for the XC, certainly. But I'll leave that to you as to what you think of that. And then finally, a very, very slight difference in what I'd say is an absolute fantastic addition to these knives. I mentioned it in the other videos. There's what I'd say is a sort of multi-functioned tool stashed away on these. You don't see it in any other Swiss Army knife. I wish you did. And it's kind of this multi-faceted chisel, cutter, pry bar thing. And if you look at, well, both of them, you can see it's got a chisel tip on it. You've got a couple of sharpened notches there. One sort of circular in profile, one slightly V-shaped. Same here, but I think the Spirit does have the best execution of this wonderful tool. So it's got the chisel point, but it's got another sharpened edge there, which means you can score through a box. Will probably be a good use of it. And the oval opening is much broader in its presentation, which means you could probably use it to cut, say, a seatbelt. You can certainly use it to cut cord. And then, obviously, the V-notch, pretty similar on both of them. Use that for something like stripping wire. So yeah, I think that's really it for the key differences. I think, because I'm not someone who would likely be cutting lots of cable, and I do kind of like having serrations on a blade, and the ergos kind of do it for me. I'd say out of the two, I'd probably select the Spirit, but I think there's enough there that the choice isn't completely easy, and I guess it's down to how you're going to use it. But yeah, I really like these two. The Spirit, I think, just about edges it. I think I like the more modern sort of sleek look. But I'll leave it to you. If you're after these, I can recommend them. I think they're very nice. Oh, here's a difference that I hadn't spotted. No measurement on the Spirit. So that's quite a nice feature on the regular one, actually. So you've got 1 to 22 centimetre rule on there, and a 1 inch to 9 inch rule on there. And if you open it up like that, you can achieve the full length to measure with in a nice straight presentation. That's one other difference. Okay, well, I'll leave you to make the decision. I hope you find that useful. If you're into knives, everyday carry, denim, quality footwear, fountain pens, coffee, they're the sort of things I tend to cover on my YouTube channel. Maybe we'll share some common interests. Please check out the channel. If you like this video, give it the thumbs up, and please subscribe. Okay, I'll see you soon. I'll see you for the next video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.